All
And
right.
we're live, baby.
Yes, we're back
We're
at
back.
it.
Another round of dSIPRouter.
There you go, man. So busy week this week. I know Tyler, you've been busy with customer stuff as well, and um, kind of
Say that
nuts.
again.
Yeah, it's been kind of nuts. But I guess the one thing I wanted to chat through a little bit is a couple of things around you know how do we want to handle like the move to like on my mind. I have a whole bunch of stuff on my mind, but microservices is one thing, which I don't get a lot of questions around that, so maybe that's not that big of a deal. But I get a lot of questions around like um open sips, which we talked about. So I'm just kind of thinking through all the stuff that I get questions about. Um, and then I also get questions about, um, you know, quality of the releases. So maybe we start there because I talked to Chelsea, and for those who don't know, Chelsea is going to be our new QA engineer. She is ready to go, and so we are starting to like now take the bugs that we have, features we have, whenever we do, um, you know, a fix for those, we're actually going to send it to QA and they're going to actually test and validate that it actually works before we actually put it into the product. Isn't that amazing? It's such an amazing idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's so we've already been doing. For people that don't know, there's some tests in the project, but we mostly are doing manual tests. Project has moved it's pivoted so many times that if we had if we had like 95% test coverage, it would just be a waste of time at this point. And we really want to make that if we start once we get it really stable into where we're happy with it, and it's going to be smaller releases. That's at the point where we're going to say, all right, now we need to make sure there's tests for every different use case. And there's a ton of different use cases, right, that people use it for. So that also comes into play. It's like you gotta test all these different things, and you gotta you deploy with some other new customer. It's a different environment. Yeah, so it's very time consuming. We just go through a manual process right now with a little spreadsheet, knock it out. And now Chelsea's going to be helping us out with that. She's going to be basically taking our PRs and reviewing them after we've done all of our development and initial testing, and she's going to kick them back, and she's going to help out with that process.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's going to be something that we've been needing to do for a while. And I think also I talked to her about this is that for people who open support tickets with us, if they report an issue, we're going to have her validate that that's truly an issue before it gets to the development team. This lets us validate it that it actually is something that's truly an issue, and as she gets like more like start understanding the project more, she'll be able to like with some level of confidence be able to say like, oh no, this is not an issue. Maybe you're not like using the product correctly. You know what I mean? So I thought that would also help us from having to deal with situations where we're spending our time looking at stuff that isn't valid. You know what I mean? It's not really a valid issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just turning off my cooler here. It's kind of noisy, but yeah, I think that is hopefully will help us streamline the process with tickets and things of that nature, which I know many of you want us to you know you know jump on these issues, but sometimes it's hard because we need to validate it, like Tyler just said, because the environments are different. Um, and here goes the other thing, is that she'll be able to do some testing on some of these operating systems as well, right? Because right now that's a very manual process for us. Originally, we'll start her off with just doing stuff like around, like bugs and features and like, things that doesn't need knowledge on the overall platform. But at some point, we would love to get her to do like kind of help us integrate the market AWS marketplace creation of new images into some type of workflow that can be triggered whenever we get new releases. So I think there's a lot of opportunity that we can jump ourselves into with really starting to have a person that's just focused on testing.
Yep. Yep. It's gonna be a little bit more streamlined now. We're all pretty excited for that. Throughout the week, what you been working on, Mac? You wanna give
Yeah,
us a little
yeah.
summary?
Yeah, so working with basically there's a new customer that we're working with, and they will be using free PBX in multiple locations, and then they will be routing all of the outbound calls through dSIPRouter. So pretty exciting because like some of these locations are offshore. So like they're using very limited bandwidth between the free PBX servers. So that's interesting. But for us, obviously, we're excited about the dSIPRouter side of it. And this company is in West Africa. So
Okay.
this kind of speaks to like, decent router being used globally. So I'm always excited to see it used in different places. Um, I think probably the biggest challenge there is me not wanting to put decent router at each one of those locations because like there's three locations, and one location there's three locations. One of the locations has the SIP trunks, right? So basically, the other two locations need to route through that one location to get to make outbound calls, um, which is fine, which is fine. Um, but one of those locations has another location, like so you have like like you have free PBX talking to another PPX, and then that PPX needs to talk to another PPX to go outbound. So like in some of those cases, I'm like, man, does it make sense to put decent router in some of these locations? So just architecturally, I guess is
Hmm.
somewhat what I've been doing this week is really reassessing, you know, should decent router be so the use case I'm doing now is very standard, like decent router being the basically acting as a border to the carriers. But in some cases, should decent router also be sitting in inner company communication between the different PPX servers? So anyway, I'm going through that in my head, and that's what I've been working on this week.
Yeah,
How about you?
I think the FPC case is what we've been focusing on for the most part. Um,
Uh-huh.
Mixing around, we don't really putting it in different parts of the stack. We haven't really messed with that too much. So it would be interesting to see if there might be some cool like media conferencing and location handling that you could do there. That'd be cool features. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, how about you? What have you been working on this week?
Yeah, so I'm working on a few different things. It's mostly bug fixes and improving our signaling right now. So right now we have a few customers that we're going through load testing with on some of their new platforms, and I was getting a lot of complaints about RTB engine sessions, and I was curious what the issue was there, and basically people that have a lot of load on their dSIPRouter instances, they'll find that the sessions aren't torn down right away. They're torn down in the background after a timeout, and that works okay. But if you have a high call load, then you want those resources to be available right away. So I've been kind of tuning that up, making that a little bit better. One of the other ones that I was looking into as well was so that's on the kind of the media side, making that a little bit of performance issues there that we're fixing up with RTP Engine. The other one was dialogue handling. So we're doing some translations with with calls that come in, being the SBC, and with those dialogues, they're not getting torn down if they time out. So that's some calls. We have the call limiting feature, right, or the call timeout feature.
Yep.
So those are dialogue related as well. For that dialogue, that whole call section, then we'll have a timeout, or we'll have a limit of sessions that can be active at once. And basically, when it times out, we're not sending that by, because we found out through testing that it won't do the translations that we want it to do afterwards. So like we have those variables stored on the dialogue, and we're saying, hey, we want you to translate it, but the dialogue module itself is saying, hey, I'm tracking it based on this context, right? And it can't really set those. It's our internal stuff.
Is it because the timed out, so all those variables have gone away, so it doesn't know how to translate anymore? Is that the problem, or no?
No, it's like the dialogue module itself. You can store variables on it, and we're like storing a bunch of things that we kind of track for the dialogue, but we just use those throughout our logic. Now, when you tell the dialogue module, hey, I want you to send buys when it times out, tear down the call, make sure that UAC and UAS or the carrier and your client are aware that the call has been torn down. It will do it using its internal structures, basically.
Got you.
Yeah.
It won't use the variables that's stored in the context for that dialogue. Is that?
It won't use our translations, basically.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Got it. Interesting.
So, kind of looking into those things, cleaning them up. That's been the bulk of the things I've been working on. I've also been looking into
one quick thing is that maybe I know obviously this is an issue with back to the RTP engine issue, is that obviously they're under increased load, obviously is not tearing down the session, so we need to probably fix that. But this is also one of the things that we have on our list of like, do we need to start supporting like out of the box? I know people can set this up anytime they want to, but like having external RTP engines that they can use. I wonder, is that something like, if that was available for them, would that alleviate the issue? It probably hide the issue more than anything, I guess. It wouldn't necessarily fix the issue.
Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily fix the issue. I mean, you could point it to an external RTP engine that I guess is tearing down sessions really quickly, or is doing all that stuff in the background, but it's using, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but it's got the NG protocol, it speaks this RTP engine thing. Camilio tells it when to tear down those sessions. You just have to be very explicit. And it's kind of a gotcha in the routing fig that we're learning, is that, if you end the call early, or there's timeout, there's anywhere where it doesn't go, it doesn't get to, your normal teardown, then you need to make sure that you tear down that session manually. You need to just tell our hey, tear down. Otherwise it'll be held until the timeout. And that's what we were kind of running into there.
Got you. Okay. Well, that's cool. No, that's cool. Because I know one of the things we were talking about was like, oh man, maybe we need to start supporting, external RTP engine, which wouldn't be that hard for us to do, but it's I'm just looking for an excuse or a use case in order to do it. You know what I mean? So I thought we almost had one, but
no, we actually have use cases. So I've already been looking into that. I got a branch on my forklift has some preliminary support for that. Basically, if they want to offload processing to another instance, that's a great use case right there. When you get into clustering, that's a great use case as well. That'll take a little bit more work to manage the cluster of RTP engine instances. So that one might be a separate module, but the external, just connecting to external ones that you're offloading that processing somewhere else, maybe a beefier server if you're doing a lot of transcoding. et cetera, et cetera. I think that's pretty simple. And then you don't have to have that running on that same instance that the signaling is being handled on.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So I'm glad you're looking into that. You were gonna say something else before I interrupted you about RxB Engine. Do you remember or no?
Oh yeah, so there's another bug I'm working on. I had some people asking about uh, different ports. So if they had an carrier and endpoint that were on the same instance, maybe a VM, or you had two different endpoints that were on the same IP with different ports. Right now, we are not handling that. We're just checking at the IP, but we're not also validating when we set it in for the auth check. The auth check is just checking the IP. We
Yeah,
don't actually
yeah,
store that port in that address table as well. So
yeah.
that's one of the things I was going to update so that we can have, and that'll kind of help with kind of the moving to support microservices as well, and like different supporting ports basically for the authentication. Because that's basically what we tie it to. After it auths, it says, all right, now go find all the stuff for that authenticated, whatever you auth with, go find the gateway group or endpoint group or carrier group, find all the attributes for it.
Yeah, I mean, so the funny thing about it is that originally in the address table, the port wasn't there when we started this project, many, many, many years ago. So I'm
Mhm.
I'm good. I'm glad that now the port's there. So now we can definitely validate against it. And I get it. That way you could if if the like you said, if the carrier and the endpoint or in some cases it's not really like a traditional SIP carrier, like a public one, but maybe it's like the customer has like a system that is acting as a carrier and endpoint. Um, or maybe they're natted, so they're all coming from the same IP, that type of deal. Now the port
Yep,
can be
yep.
used as a differentiator in the whole thing. So that makes a lot of sense to start supporting that because right now people can put in different ports in the carrier and endpoint. We just don't push it down to the address table, basically. So
Yep, it's just
makes
at the
sense.
auth level. Like when we're routing, the gateways all have
Yeah.
those the dispatcher sets. They have all that stuff set there, so we know how to route there. But the authentication and matching that to the gateways.
No, that makes sense. No, that makes sense. No, that makes a
Mhm.
lot of sense actually. Well, good. No, I'm glad about that. The other thing that I've been wanting to do, and I swear I'm going to do this week. I swear I will. Is I want to create a new updated video on our this is the install process, and
Okay.
we never really talked about like the uh the command line options. Like we all briefly talked through them, but like you have spent a lot of time working on the CLI and making the command line of dSIPRouter really cool. So I want to highlight some of that on this upcoming video because we haven't did a video like that in a very long time. So I think it's
Mhm.
it's like it's time just to do another one so that people can see what it is. And I wonder, so for people out here listening, like, do you get like anxious when you see a whole bunch of stuff scrolling on the screen when we're doing an install? Or would you prefer to have it hidden from you? And you maybe can toggle back and forth and you can see everything happening, or maybe you just have a an orange screen, right, with the DSIP router logo. I don't know if the orange is kind of our color scheme. I don't know. I'm just what do you think, Tyler? What do you think about this whole thing? Do you
Yeah,
get
so I
anxious?
actually no. So I'd rather have more info, basically. And
Yeah.
I think most people that if they're going to be installing it themselves, which kind
Uh-huh.
of unless you're using an image, that's the process right now. I think most people want to see what's happening. And then if something
Mm.
isn't set right or it goes wrong, they can go back and look at it and say, oh, well, there's the error or there's the thing it's telling me right here. We had it kind of
That's fair.
condensed before. but I took those out essentially because every time somebody would do an install and they would have an error, it would be hidden somewhere, and we have to go, oh well, now I have to figure it out without the actual log statements that could have told me. So I think most people think that way too if they're installing from scratch.
And then okay, that's good feedback, because I was sitting there thinking like to myself, I'm always sitting here thinking like, oh man, how can we make this simpler for people and make it easier for people to be able to like start using it. So that's good feedback.
Mhm.
But for anybody out there, also please give us feedback. We want to know. A lot of times it's just me and Tyler sitting here. I'm frozen, so hold up for a second. Oh, I'm back now. Okay, so it's usually me and Tyler just sitting here thinking through what people want, right? So it's good to get good feedback. The other thing I was going to say is that for registration for carriers, I've been going back and forth. Maybe we can just talk through it real quick. Like, I think some
Mhm.
people, including myself, when I actually do a username and password registration on the carrier side, I want to see that it actually, registered. FreePBX doesn't do this. Fusion doesn't do this. We
Mhm.
don't do it. Like, I feel like it'll be great is that once it registers, it comes back with a 200 okay or whatever. We push that data to like a shared memory location somewhere in dSIPRouter, and then we show it on the screen as a green, right? Or if you go to the carrier screen, you can see this carrier is registered. I don't know, but
Mhm.
just
I
one
think
of those
that's a
things
that's a
that
cool idea, man. So like the dashboard, we only have a few metrics on there right now, but I would much
yeah,
rather it be like a live view, like a live summarization of
yeah,
what's going on, and especially like pointing out, hey, this one you have set up for UAC off, but it didn't register. If it, so little red, little red icon or big
yeah.
caution sign or something.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about the dashboard. I was just thinking about the carrier page, but that's a good idea on the
Hmm.
dashboard as well, right? Because sometimes when people are setting up the carriers, right? You're putting in the stuff. You know how it goes. You're putting it in, you hit the button, and then you like, all right, wait. You got your SN grep out. For those who knows how to use SN grep, you're sitting there waiting, and then other people like they don't know what to do. So wanted to see, how can we help those people? Now, again, I'm a big fan of like people telling us that this is a problem and us going to solve it versus us just going out and just solving stuff. But
Hmm.
um this one it seems fun to me because like right now the shared memory module that we use, we could probably you know put an API call for the carrier group or something like that or internal API call that updates the status, and I guess that would update the shared memory of some sort, and we'll have something there for each carrier group. I don't know. It'd be interesting because right now in the shared memory module, it's just a dictionary object, right? That has all the different data that we're storing in shared memory. Is that how it works?
No, so like that's all in UAC, the UAC module. So
No,
you
no,
can
I know the
basically
USC
like,
module, but I'm just saying, like at the DSIP router level, like how we have shared memory for like the reload of DSIP router or the reload or or of Camilio. That's how we
mhm.
specify if it needs to be reloaded or not. I'm just thinking that we use that same mechanism to share the state of a carrier. I don't know. I'm just thinking out the top of my head.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
there's interfaces into JSON RPC and RPC interfaces, so you can just call like directly into that. We could like map that to an API call or something,
Oh,
and you
uh,
so what would be really cool, like you were talking about, like you're putting in your carrier stuff, you pop pop pop, give me username, password, blah blah blah, and then hit a button say test, right?
yeah.
I was thinking the same thing when I was updating the LDAP module. It's like, man, I wish I had a way to like send a test, make sure this bind works, and so that I don't have to like reload and then go, oh well, was the state good, or did it just could it connect to the server, So I think those are like the next level after we get some of the like issues that people are already having with the UI. So the smaller
Yeah.
things, get the low hanging fruit, and then go, all right, how can we make it a better experience, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, the better experience. But yeah, we have identified some things that we're gonna work on and do. Um, just simple things in the UI, just delete all things of that nature that a standard UI would have.
Hmm.
So I think that stuff's gonna be good. But yeah, and I like this. Sometimes I just like thinking about these things, like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this? Wouldn't it be cool to do that? So, and it's hard because it's hard to like be like, no, we shouldn't do this right now because we have other stuff we need to be doing. But there's so much stuff to do, and I think also, for people out there who want to contribute to the project, these are small enough pieces that you can like learn, about dSIPRouter, how it works, and things of that nature. And for me, I always feel like I learn the most when I take a little sliver of a problem and I try and implement it. And
Hmm.
I don't know. That's how I learn typically.
Yeah, for those of y'all that don't know, me and Mac like tackling the big issues, and we like tackling really hard stuff. So sometimes we have to rein ourselves back in and pull the team back together and say, all right, what's actually more important? We could do this great new feature, could slap on feature X, Y, Z, but yeah, sometimes we have to rein it back in and say, well, there's smaller things that are kind of like, issues for some people, a small group of people, or there's just things that people hate dealing with, gotta deal with those too.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the crazy thing. So anyway, let's wrap this up. So anything, last thoughts or anything you want to share with folks?
So I'm not going to go into any big new features. Look forward to on this next release. It's going to be upcoming. I think we had it slated for around November. We usually do another release before Christmas. Look
Yep.
forward to a lot of stability fixes and a lot of signaling and improvements there. Small but important fixes.
Yeah, yeah, and look for us just to improve our process flow. Um, we're going to continue to have a continuous outreach to the community. We are really, if you follow us on like LinkedIn, um, we are really pushing out content around it. You'll see us, have weekly posts about stuff. We have a whole schedule of stuff that we're posting about. So we really want people to get involved with the project. And I think if at some point we would love to do some in-person type of event. I mean, I think we need to talk about it as we think about going to Astracon. We're gonna try and go to Camilio next year, Camilio World. So we want to get out, talk to people, and figure out what they like. So look forward to getting out this year or not next year. So that's it for me, man. That's nothing else. So we'll be back next week, same time, same bat channel. And if you have questions or issues, please, you can find us you can go to dSIPRouter.org. There's a little chat button there. You can put your question in there, and we'll respond pretty quickly. So
Yep.
talk
Also
to
check out
you.
the Slack channel. I'll
Oh
post it all
yeah,
in the show notes below.
yep. Slack
I,
channel is
I updated
also
all the
good.
I updated all the previous ones yesterday, so we'll
Good.
get that out right away.
All right. Well, good. All right.
All right.
Well,
Sounds
take
sweet.
care, Tyler. We'll talk soon. Take care, everybody. All right. Bye bye.
See you guys.